Hello, everybody, and welcome to Swim with Jim. This is Jim Ludwig from Main Street Financial Planning, and we have another exciting interview today from a retired engineer who started planning ahead. And our theme this month is planning ahead. And we've known Al Ortiz, a retired engineer from Raytheon and Boeing Company. And Al, good morning. Are you there?
I am here, Jim. Good morning. Glad to be here.
Well, listen, we're planning ahead, and you're one of the people that we know that have done a lot of planning, and engineers typically do a lot of planning. That's what I found out in my career of being a financial advisor, and you're no exception. And the first question I want to ask you this morning is, what were the kinds of things that you were thinking about, and what were you doing prior to retirement, that 4 or 5 years before? Why don't you share that with us?
Hi, Jim. Good question. The thing that I thought about in our industry, at least by the time I came around, it was not very stable. So if you talk to any engineers, they're going to tell you that the number one thing is job security. The things that you can do to achieve job security that you have control over is basically your finances. And so I started looking at finances. I started looking at health. And basically I made a decision looking at those things that in order to be secure, I needed to be aggressive on my savings and be aggressive on my planning. Develop several contingent plans for things that happen, whether it's emergencies, whether it's raising a family, something with the children. But the bigger one really was the job. Engineers have high stressful jobs. That's one of the things that, a little secret that a lot of people don't know, understand, is way, way high in stress, especially if you become responsible for large organizations or large projects. And one of the things to mitigate that is that your health start to give in at some point, and you feel tired. I remember having to drive 60 miles each way a day, and basically we averaged about 3,000 miles a month, or about 36,000 miles a year just in the commute to go to work. And I had to basically buy a house in a location that I can afford my family could live, because the area was kind of far away from work. So I had those choices, and I knew, I say a large percentage, I say over 75–80% of engineers in the same situation.
Wow.
So we travel, we try the best to stay the path, but the several reports and studies that show the incident of engineers' stress and what happened, the life expectancy of engineers, that they reduce the longer they work. Just posted the other day on Facebook an article giving the reasons why engineers need to retire early. And he cites the stress, cites the studies. So that is very, very worrisome and something that drove me and motivated me. And on the other side too, motivated me was the desire to spend more time with my family. I think being able to spend time together with my children and my wife, and be able to do things that the commute would not let me do, those one of the motivation factors that said, hey, I have to move on, I have to take actions, I have to solve problems. They solve problems and build things.
So what specific things did you look at as you prepared for retirement? I've heard you say finances and health. Can you get a little more specific?
Sure. In the health category, I started comparing myself to other people in my same age group, and I said, I would not take time for myself to do my physical exams, to do my checks. Looking that I started gaining weight in a very fashion. And I saw the lifestyle that I was having was unhealthy. The stuff I was eating was not good. I saw things that were not changing. So it was a complete rot. I knew that something had to change. And I started looking at ways to change that. And I tried 1,000 things. I mean, I tried taking naps at work, doing breaks. I, I start. I try to come in early and try to beat traffic. I did 1,000 things, but nothing beats changing your eating habits and having plenty of exercise to stay healthy. On the financial part, I noticed that although the financials were going well, but it seems like the money was coming in and going out just as fast, and I didn't seem to actually put in time to dedicate to my money doing for me, or I was doing for the money. It's almost that you get caught in that trade dollars for hours, and you never ever, get to the point says, well, my God, my money start working for me. So I felt that I needed to get my money working for me, and I decided to start educating myself. I have various degrees in science in different areas. College doesn't really teach you about finances. So, and the people who probably are sitting out there listening to this can relate to this. You start picking up books and you start reading. So you have to make health a priority. You have to make finances a priority. And then you have to include the one thing I did is I included my spouse. Articles I make her aware. Like I heighten her awareness of what's going on. And by bringing her along, she became a partner and she helped me move along. And we actually forged a plan together, and we're able to eventually, be successful at it, both in the health department and in the financial portion of it.
How important was a budget for you as you were planning retirement?
A budget is the primary tool used in order to control our expenditures. We found that we had to make a really difficult decision when our third child was born, and we had both of us were working for several years, and we made a decision for my wife to stay home. And if you're concerned about job security and now you're depending on one income, that makes it harder and harder to even, make ends meet. Anxiety of not having a job. When you hear they're going to lay off 500 people, they're going to get rid of 1,000, your program to cancel, things of that nature basically make you very nervous. So, but we took that leap of faith, and actually, we just continued to work at it.
So a budget was critical to you making that decision. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you get that question? A budget was critical to making that decision.
Absolutely. Budget was the tool, and budget was the gave us control over our behaviors, of our expenditures, and we start doing things that help us achieve our goals, which was basically we did things and to the coupon things. We actually managed took lunch to work. We manage our expenditure, the things that we buy. We start using that budget in a very passionate way. It's our only option, our only tool that we had in order to get there to achieve what we were trying to do. Not easy to do when you have children. Not easy to do when you have priorities to trade. But we did. Today, I can report that we are excited for the fact that we had learned that skill. And one of the things that I pursue, and I'll talk to people all the time about the importance of not only having a budget, live by it, and that you have to be compassionate for it. I compare this for those people that know about flying on airplanes to waypoints to waypoints. We call it trajectory. A trajectory has a position and a destination. The position is defined typically by I'm going to say by 6 coordinates, defined by a single point. Your budget is almost like having your position. It always tells you where you are, and the destination is the direction that you're going. So it is imperative and important to always know your position.
Well, let's fast forward now to 2 years ago when you made the decision, you were ready to retire, you wanted to retire, and you did retire. And as we think about 2018, what are you doing now, year by year, as a retiree?
Wow, the biggest two things that that I recall: financial independence. It came to the point that our first step with our budgets and managing the budgets aggressively was to be able to achieve a status of being debt free. Being debt free was the first accomplishment that we had, and the second one was financial independence. What exactly does that mean? Well, being debt free means that you don't owe money, other than, you can take exception, say, well, you have a mortgage, but no credit cards, no unsecured debt. So we basically were debt free. And then obviously financial independence is when you no longer need a paycheck from work, and that you can say, do I need the money or I need the time? I sat down, I looked, and I said, between the time and the money, and I chose the time. And considering what I just told you about the stress level that we had, during my career, and all the people experience around us, I said that that decision was not too hard. We were shopping yesterday at a high brand store around our place, and we ran into a fellow engineer, and basically they were telling us the same thing. They're coming to the point that money is not as important, and having achieved financial independence, it is the key. It is the gift that you give to yourself, the gift that you give to your family, the gift you give to your community. Now we have time not only for ourselves to travel, but also have time for our community to do things that we couldn't do before.
Well, as an engineer, are you still tracking your expenses? How important is that budget now?
That budget now in retirement is just because you have no source of income and you depend on your investments. So you have to always maintain an eye on how your expenditures go, what your habits are, so you ensure that you stay on plan. Similarly to the example I gave earlier about a flight path with trajectory, a flight path, you basically fly from waypoint to waypoint. Trajectory takes you point A to point B, but in order to get to point A to point B, you have a lot of smaller points. It's called waypoints. And in navigation, they got that towers that give you that transmission, a beacon that basically you follow, and that's how you get to your destination. So the budget acts like that. We're using tools such as Mint, and that basically automated our budgeting process in conjunction with our spending plan. The plan sets the limits, help us trade our decisions, and Mint give us alerts, show us where the money was spent at, and how that could reconcile itself. Also, we simplified our taxes by doing so. So our budget a lot closer than we did when we were working, and we're more passionate about it because our future depends on it.
Well, the other day you sent Anna and I your latest report, and you don't have to give us the actual numbers, but could you give us the percentages of what you experienced last year and what you expect to experience this year?
Oh, wow. I sent a report, as I always do, because you're not only a financial advisor, you're a trusted friend. We basically experienced about a 9-point net worth growth for the year, and our earnings were in the 6 figures. I'm just going to leave it at that. But basically, I say probably twice our expenditures. So not only did I cover my my expenditures with the earnings, I also did, twice as much.
Well, Al, you are a really good pilot, and we really appreciate you sharing your thoughts, your experiences with us today. And I want to point out that a good pilot always knows where they're at, always knows their numbers. And as financial planners, we like to encourage people. And you're the first client we've ever highlighted. Thank you for acknowledging that, because we have a privacy policy where we don't tell people who our clients are. That's up to you to tell people. And thank you for expressing that. But we really want to hold you up as an example of, you have a plan, you work your plan, you make corrections if you need to, but you know what you achieved, and that gives you an inner sense of satisfaction, correct?
Correct. And today, my wife and I have been able to, in retirement, as another surprise, we've been able to travel extensively. Like I mentioned, we did Portugal, Spain on the self-guided tour. We did China, to British Columbia, to Victoria, to Seattle area. This year it was a banner year, and we are so excited. Future, we feel secure about what we're doing and where we're going. We believe that any contingency that happen, we can get there. We have worked our things out, simplifying our finances in such a manner that brought us peace of mind and comfort.
Great. Well, Al Ortiz, we really appreciate you sharing your experiences with us on Swim with Jim. We want to encourage everybody to plan ahead this year, know where you're at, know what changes are occurring from last year, so that you can be prepared for a happy, healthy, entertaining future. This has been Jim Ludwig, Main Street Financial Planning, Swim with Jim. We want to wish everybody a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Al.
Bye, Jim. Thank you. Happy Three Kings Days.
All right. It's Domani. See you. Bye now.